The Fighting Nerd's plot armor in the UFC has come to an end. The first man to beat a fighting nerd in the UFC, Ian Machado Garry. This whole card was great all around, except for a couple stinky fights, but all fight cards can be perfect, you know. Overall, like I said, super fun card, had some pretty nasty KOs. But anyway, I'm here to break down the final results and go over my predictions for the whole fight card. So let's get started with the first fight. Chelsea Chandler versus Jocelyn Edwards. Man, Jocelyn Edwards she just completely dominated Chelsea Chandler here. She had great body kicks. She was spamming those right hooks towards the end, which led her to finish the fight on the ground. But this was a perfect performance. I got this pick correct. And I guess cut Chandler, man. I don't know what would be next for her. She didn't look too great out there, you know. But anyway, our next fight we had Timmy Kwamba and Roberto Romero. I got this pick incorrect. I thought Roberto Romero was going to be good enough to beat Timmy Kwamba. He showed some great promise against Onama in his previous fight, and I honestly thought he was going to carry some of that momentum into this fight, especially with having a full training camp. But Timmy Kwamba was just better. It was a nasty flying knee. It was a super fun fight to watch. Good comeback win for Kwamba. But yeah, there's not really much to say about this fight other than Timmy Kwamba's good comeback win. But for the next fight, we had Jacqueline Amora going up against Polyana Viana. Man, Jacqueline is just so good. She's amazing on the ground. She was constantly hunting for those submissions. This is her straight submission win. She stayed busy and active on the ground, which is super fun to watch. But cut Viana as well. She did not perform whatsoever. And she kind of just gave up as soon as Jacqueline Amorim got that rear naked choke towards the end. She didn't even let Amorim tighten it for longer than like 2 seconds, I think. But yeah, overall, this was, like I said, pretty good, fun fight to watch. The grappling was fun. These are the type of fights that I like to watch, where there's a lot of active grappling, not just the Smudge Fest, you know. But yeah, the next fight we had Malcolm Wellmaker going up against Cameron Simon. Dude, this was a great UFC debut for Wellmaker. This guy was super patient, waiting for his strikes. And then eventually he found that clean counter right hook that put Simon to sleep, bro. And definitely the best knockout of the night. I don't know what's next for Simon. He's kind of on a losing streak right now, so we'll see what's next for him. I got this pick correct. This put me at 3-for-1 for the night. I started out pretty well. And yeah, for the next fight we had Damon Blackshear going up against Alaten Jali. This is a pretty fun fight. There was a lot of striking exchanges between these guys. Blackshear looked good on the feet. He pieced them up in the first round with some great kicks as well, and he was able to mix up his striking. Kind of slowed down in the second, but to me it was interesting that he didn't use wrestling at all in the whole fight. It was some interesting decision making from him. But this was a great performance by Damon Blackshear overall. Alaten Jali was landing some strikes that was kind of getting Damon Blackshear's attention, but nothing crazy enough to where Damon Blackshear was kind of scared, you know. But I thought Damon Blackshear was about to get that KO through certain times of the fight, but I guess Alaten Jali is just that tough. And I got this pick correct. This put me at 4-for-1. Got this pick correct on like the next one, Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. They both had their moments. It was a classic Gutierrez performance. It was a pretty close fight. Gutierrez, though, no finishing urgency towards the end of that first round where he got the knockdown. And nothing crazy and notable happened throughout this fight. The only thing is Chris Gutierrez, some good leg kicks. And John Castaneda taking him down a little bit, having some of that control time throughout the fight. But nothing crazy. A good win for Chris Gutierrez, I guess, by split decision. But yeah, then the next fight we had Evan Elder going up against Gage Young. This is a good performance from Evan Elder, and props to Gage Young, bro, stepping in against Evan Elder, experienced fighter. And that's one of the things that showed most in this fight. Evan Elder, dude, he was chewing up the body and the legs of Gage Young. He was throwing some huge right hands, but this was a really fun fight to watch. There was a lot of exchanges as well, but good performance from Gage Young, is like I said, props to him. And yeah, I got this pick correct. This put me at 5-for-2. I did pretty good tonight on my picks. But yeah, moving on to the last fight of the prelims, we had Matt Schnell versus Jimmy Flick. Dude, this was a super fun scrap to watch. There were some moments where there was just kind of a little bit of Smudge Fest from Jimmy Flick, but most of the fight just chasing submissions, super fun. It was back and forth. There was a few times throughout the fight where I'm like, oh, it's over, it's over, it's over. But nope. Matt Schnell would throw a reversal and he'd get on Jimmy Flick's back, and it was just, like I said, back and forth. Super fun fight. Definitely not what I expected. I did have Matt Schnell winning, but there was that chance of Jimmy Flick landing some crazy shot and KOing Matt Schnell, which That did not happen, but good win for Matt Schnell, putting him back on the winning column. But yeah, moving on, we have the first fight of the main card. Ikram going up against Andre Muniz. This was a great comeback win for Ikram. This was definitely a step down in competition, and it went very well for him. He was very patient this fight as well, kind of like Willmaker. He was just waiting to find that killing shot. Ikram landed a great left hook, wobbled Andre Muniz. It was very awkward, but he was able to finish it on the ground. I feel like it could have been stopped a little bit earlier, but it was a good stoppage overall. Andre Muniz wasn't defending himself anymore, or not moving at all, I mean. But good win for Ikram. This put me at 7 for 2. And moving on to the fight of the night, Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby. Bro, people are sleeping on Randy Brown. I didn't know his game was like that. Dude, but what a fight. It was a slugfest, bro. Dalby did land some big shots and even knocked down Brown. And honestly, either of them couldn't have got the KO there, to be honest. Brown, he was getting the better shots and he was more precise. Dude, he put a striking clinic, bro. He broke Dalby's nose in that first round. He eventually found a beautiful right hook that made Dalby faceplant and put him to sleep, bro. Super fun fight to watch. These guys went to war, man. Dude, I was so excited watching this fight. And it earned fight of the night, rightfully so. But we'll see what's next for Randy Brown. He's going to keep continuing to climb the rankings, I believe. I'm not sure how far he's going to get. Probably, maybe be a top 10 guy. But top 5, I'm not too sure. But moving on to the next fight, we had Michel Pereira versus Ambus Magomedov. There's not really much to break down from this fight. It was a super boring fight. Pereira had nothing, bro. This is one of the fights that I was talking about at the intro. One of those stinkers. Definitely the worst fight of the night. And Pereira didn't come out and do anything, bro. He wasn't himself. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if he was worried that his gas tank was going to run out, or that he was scared of Ambus Magomedov. But this was not the performance that Michel Pereira was looking for. But good win for Ambus, I guess. It's putting him on that 3-fight win streak, I believe. Like I said, there's not really much to say anymore. I got this pick incorrect. Moving on to another fight that was kind of stinky. It was the Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. It started to be a fun fight. Well, when it stayed on the feet, Giga Chikadze was piecing up David Onama. But as soon as it went to the ground, it started to get a little boring. David Onama remembered that he could wrestle, and he kept Giga Chikadze on the ground. He wasn't chasing any submissions, which was really boring. And just him having that control time on the ground was what led him to get the victory here. But he's getting ranked now. I just don't believe he's going to be able to defeat a top 10 fighter. I don't see him going far in the featherweight, or farther than this. This is probably his ceiling. I didn't see anything crazy against Giga Chikadze, but yeah, moving on, we have Anthony Smith going up against Zhang Mingyang. This was Anthony Smith's retirement fight. It was super sad to watch. This was a layup fight for Zhang for sure. There were some questionable elbows for the TKO at the end there. Some of them might have been landing on the back of the head, and I think so too. But it was just sad to see Anthony Smith going out this way, but I guess it was bound to happen. It was a good win for Zhang regardless though. He was piecing him up, and it was just another classic Anthony Smith performance. Just him kind of just laying there, taking everything that they were throwing at him, and without any response back. But yeah, I got this pick correct. This put me on 10 for 3 for the night. Like I said, I did pretty good. However, I did get this next fight incorrect. The Ian Machado Garry versus Carlos Prates. This was a very technical fight from Garry, but super boring, bro. It was so frustrating to watch, especially towards the end of that 5th round where Carlos Prates had that opportunity to finish Ian Machado Garry on the ground. Pretty sure he was out cold for a few seconds there. But Ian Garry schooled Prates and shut him out completely. He didn't let Carlos Prates do anything whatsoever. The fight IQ was a big factor in this fight. Ian Machado Garry was showing crazy IQ, and Carlos Prates was showing negative IQ. And he definitely sold that 5th round, bro. And like I said at the intro, Ian Machado Garry, the first man to be a fighting nerd in the UFC. That streak finally came to an end. Sad to see that streak coming to an end, because these fighting nerds are super fun to watch. Just that I don't know what Carlos Prates was doing and what his plan was last night, but definitely one of the worst performances ever by a fighting nerd ever, I think. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This will conclude the post-fight breakdown video, and stay tuned for the next video. It's going to be Sandhagen versus Figueiredo. I'm pretty sure they're going to fight in the Apex. But I will upload a video breaking down each fight and that card as well. But anyway, guys, we'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.